thanks for joining us on another episode of The Pursuit. I'm Pastor Rick. I'm joined here with Pastor Harper. Pastor Harper, we're going to talk today about Pastor Kivett's recent sermon in Ephesians 6 about the armor of God.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
What do you think this is, man?
I had some other notes, but we can go with it.
We've been doing this for like a year. You haven't caught this on yet? All right. Well, we always start with an icebreaker, and I feel like you and I are really getting to know each other a lot, and I think our people at home are getting to know this. I found out somebody came to me recently and was sharing something about something we shared in an icebreaker.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd almost forgotten that we shared that on camera. So I thought I was being stalked for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So what's today?
So you picked last time, right?
Yes.
so.
Yes, it's your turn.
All right. So we can go from the middle of the pile. Repeats, hopefully.
Always stressful.
Oh, man.
Words are hard.
All right. Tell about a time you were scared.
Okay.
Tell about a time.
Does that be recent or all time?
I would say all time.
Great.
There's no qualifiers there.
I've got an all time that's pretty good. Okay. So I was in kindergarten. All right. I remember this because for some reason the school that I went to, they decided we're going to do this fall festival. But this was before we learned that scaring children had bad effects on their psyche later on. So they turned the kindergarten room into a haunted house. So now again, I'm older, I'm 44, so when I was younger, He-Man was a real big deal, and they're like putting him out again, that's pretty awesome. So I dressed as Skeletor for that Halloween. So I'm they're taking me into the haunted house. My dad, my mom is with me. There's this girl that's in the class that she's like, you don't have girlfriend, boyfriend in kindergarten, but we saw each other and all talked and waved. So we're like holding hands, through the thing because we're all scared. And they led me through. We walked in. The first guy that popped out dressed like Dracula, my eyes went closed. And Dad had to lead me out the rest of it. I just kind of sat there not looking at anything. And the best part, my dad tells the story, is the little girl looked up and said, "Mr. Clinard," because I was squeezing her hand so tight, I was about to snap it. So Dad loves to tell that story when we're in public, that I was scared at the age of 5.
Man. That's funny.
Yeah, I won't name the school because I'm not sure if the statute of limitations have run out on that kind of crime, but they did that.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so mine took place in a Lowe's home improvement. I remember what?
Keep going.
So I was with my parents. I was probably about 5 or 6, real young.
Okay, good.
So
I was hoping.
This was last
year.
But we walked in, and I remember they had a setup. Like as soon as you walk in the door, they had a setup of some little kids outdoor patio furniture or something. I thought it was cool, so I went over there and sat in it.
Okay.
And I'm over there playing, and then all of a sudden I look up, and my parents are gone.
Oh.
I'm like, oh man, I don't know where they're at. And so I remember I kind of looked around a little bit, finally went to the guest desk or whatever, the help desk, whatever, and told them, hey, I can't find my mom and dad, and I was scared. And they were like, what's their names? I was like, Mom and Dad. It was that moment, I don't know, what do they call? They call each other Sweetie? Is that
what you're looking for?
Mr. Sweetie? And but anyway, come to find out, they were hiding around the corner of an aisle because they knew that I wasn't paying attention, and they were trying to teach me a lesson, I guess. And so they came out they knew the whole time. They let me go to the desk and
so they're kind of following you too there.
Yeah. But again, thankfully, it doesn't bother me now or anything.
You think
I don't have anything. Yeah. Okay. I'm perfectly fine because of it.
All right. Well, take some time right now with your group to discuss a time when you were scared. We shared back in our childhood because let's be honest, we didn't want to embarrass ourselves with recent stories. So feel free to take this time right now with your group to talk about a time you've been scared.
Well, this week, Pastor Kivett was teaching on Ephesians 16, where we talk about spiritual warfare. Pastor Dwayne talked on this a little bit last week, but as Pastor Kivett kind of introed it, he shared a few stories of kind of manufacturers and people who built cars and did other things and how they kind of reworked what they did in order to basically prepare for battle back in World War II. And ultimately help bring victory. And so as he's talking about that, he's talking about for us as we talk about taking on the armor, putting on the armor, how it is this preparing for battle, altering maybe what we were doing before saved to where now as we're saved, we're aware of our enemy, we're aware of the battle that's going on, and we are preparing for this fight. Yep. But one of the things he kind of talked about was we're not fighting for victory, we're fighting from victory. And so this victory is secured, and so there's a difference there that sometimes we don't always kind of consider, I guess.
And it does change perspective. Hearing that, my mind immediately went to the 2016, I know we're talking about war here, in 2016, the World Series, because I was a Cubs fan. I did not enjoy the World Series while it was happening.
Yeah.
We went down 3-1. I thought, great, we've got this far, now I'm going to lose again. But we came back and won it. So I bought the DVD, and I enjoy watching it now because I know, I don't care if we lost this game by 10 runs or what happens. I know what happens in the extra innings of Game 7.
Yeah.
And so there is something about that, like knowing, I know the victory, we know the victory belongs to Jesus. We know He's going to win. So we do fight that battle knowing that ultimately He is going to win. So whatever we face now, we understand. We're watching the DVD. We know what happens. We know He wins. We get to operate out of that. I think it's an interesting thought.
Oh, yeah. And still we are called to be a part of it. We still have our roles, our responsibilities within that. But yeah, that does. It totally changes our perspective, our outlook, and hopefully our attitude.
Yeah, it gives you peace.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
We'll take some time right now with your group to discuss what it's like. What's the difference between fighting for victory and fighting from victory? Well, also in Pastor Kivett's sermon, he talked about how the battle is something that we do not fight in isolation, that we are surrounded, kind of like what Pastor Dwayne said last week, by a band of brothers and things like that. And oftentimes when we're in this spiritual battle, we can get that tendency to feel isolated, that we're alone in this. We're the only ones who feel this way, struggle this way, or are feeling attacked this way. So we thought a good question to ask our groups at home is, what is a way, or what are you doing to keep from being isolated in the battle? Because this is something you have to be proactive at.
Yeah.
Our natural tendency is to isolate ourselves. So we have to, as I was listening to this, I was thinking, what do we offer here at Salem to keep our people, our members and attendees from becoming isolated?
Yeah, because we are, again, if we're following this along, like kind of following over from what Pastor Dwayne said, like we're a soldier, but that means we're a part of a greater army. And so, here we've got a lot of different opportunities for simply kind of, as you know it, we've got Sunday school on Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock. There are a few different classes that are meeting at that time that you can be a part of. We're also starting small groups that you can be a part of in homes during the week at times that work best for you. For kids, we have Salem Kids on Sunday morning. We've got the youth group on Wednesday nights, and so we've got these opportunities where people can be together and grow together, not just in, again, biblical teaching being at the core of it, but also in authentic community, getting closer.
And we've set up stuff hopefully to the point of when somebody says, hey, I'm kind of feeling isolated, we ask, well, what are you doing? We want to have venues open for everybody.
Yeah, that's good. Well, take some time now, talk with your group about what are you doing to keep from being isolated in the battle. All right, well, Pastor Kivett talked about the first piece of the armor, kind of the main piece, the first one that holds everything together. It talks about the belt of truth. And so in this, he talks about kind of what this word truth means. And he talks about the word being aletheia, talking about content and attitude. There's kind of these two parts of it, kind of the absolute truth. And he talked about the imagery, kind of the idea of Big Ben, which we set as the standard, and we set our clocks by it, and it would be absurd to say, oh, Big Ben's wrong because my clock says it's this time. But then also the attitude, the lifestyle, and he talked about sometimes the hypocrisy and the lies that sneak into our lives and taint our kind of our example and our light to others when that happens. But as we're talking about that, one of the things is, as truth is that first piece of armor, what are we doing to protect that? Because really we're talking about this kind of as an integrity kind of piece here.
Yeah. What's neat about that armor is it's not a belt like we think it is. It's like almost like a strap that goes across the whole chest area, and every piece hangs on it. So the idea is, without truth, there's no righteousness, there's no salvation, there's nothing. Everything hangs on that truth.
Yeah. Yeah, and he talked about talking about how there are ways in our lives as we've kind of exchanged the truth for a lie. And he talks about Romans 1:25, where they exchanged the truth of God for a lie. They began to worship the creation rather than the creator. And then going on to talk about the attitude, talking about 2 Timothy 2:4, where talking about how it talks about the person aims to please the one who enlisted them. And so this idea of how how we conduct our lives, how our attitude and our lifestyle as a whole come alongside and parallel with God's word instead of kind of crossing over it or differing from it in any way, we begin to have that integrity in our lives altogether.
So we thought we'd ask the question to our group, what are you doing to protect the integrity of the truth as well as your own conduct? Yeah, and I think that's something it's a very key thing, especially in our culture today. Like and I know, we see great leaders of God, yet something happens, a moral failure or something, and it's like, well, why, while they were teaching the truth, what were they doing? Why were they not putting up guardrails? And that's something that you have to do. It's not just what you're teaching, it's also in how you're living.
Yeah. Well, and even, Pastor Kivett kind of gave the example of Satan tempting Eve in the garden again, and kind of as you look at that, you see kind of Satan kind of attacking the truth, the content. Did God really say this? But then also the attitude, the lifestyle of, well, you're lacking something. Don't you want to be like God? This will make you like God because he made you incomplete and he didn't make you fully in the image of him. There's something that he's keeping from you, and he's attacking that truth that we're given. Well, take some time, talk about this with your group now. What are you doing to protect integrity of the truth as well as your conduct?
Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of The Pursuit. As always, you can watch previous episodes by clicking the link on your screen.
Yeah, and you can go back and watch past sermons as well. And then if you haven't already done this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and that way you can see the videos as soon as we put them up. Pastor Rick's going to mime juggling now, and we will see you next time.